Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Well, today I'll be talking about one of the most anticipated titles in the Atlantic 75 series from Analogue Productions. This is CSN, the 1977 album from Crosby, Stills Nash, and it's otherwise known as the Boat Album. That is because they're on a sailboat on this one. On the first self-titled album, they're sitting on a couch. That was way back in the Woodstock era. This is 1977, so the Couch album came out in '69. Deja Vu followed it the following year in 1970, and then 7 years elapsed before we saw them reconvene to do an album together. Of course, they were doing solo work in the intervening years, some of it brilliant, and they would appear on each other's albums as well. So there was a steady flow of music from these three talented musicians, but the magic returned for this album. I remember when this arrived in the stores because I was probably 16 or 17. I got my dream job. It was at a record store in my hometown at the local mall. And oh man, that was such a great job. I worked there with my best friend. And we remember listening to the Crosby, Stills, Nash albums, over the years. We weren't there when they came out, of course, we were too young, but we definitely gravitated towards the music of the late 60s and early 70s. And when this arrived in the store, we immediately played it. And I remember saying to him, I cannot believe how much better they sound on this record. Not only that, the material is wonderful too. He agreed. And then when we played it at home, we could see that, wow, recording technology had come a long way. And they were able to capture these wonderful harmonies much better than they were on the first two albums. I reviewed the first album several times, actually. Most recently with the Atlantic 75 series release. I'll leave a link to that review if you want to take a look at it. I did feel like the Atlantic 45 was the best version of that album, and I had about 4 different ones to listen to. In this case, I have the original pressing that my friend John brought. He's visiting me now, and we did these listening sessions together. He also brought the Chris Bellman 2017 Rhino. So Chris Bellman's earlier 33 effort, and I had the Atlantic 75 series here. We did a lot of tweaking to the system before we started these evaluations. All of this took place on the Perpetuum EbnerPE turntable. It's the PE 6060 that's in-house now. It's been here for a little while. I've got about 50 hours on the cartridge, and it sounds wonderful, really wonderful. The cartridge is a Ortophon Quintet Black cartridge. I will have a full review and some sneak previews, first impressions, and so forth on this turntable over the coming months. In about 3 months, the written review will appear in Audiophilia, so stay tuned for that. Hearing these albums again after all these years, wow, it really took me back to remembering how beautiful their harmonies can actually sound. This is what they are famous for, of course. And on this album, the Boat album, the harmonies are displayed in a spectacular way. It just doesn't come across the same on the earlier albums, particularly the first one, where they're all singing into one mic. Here, the recording technology is different, so you hear individual voices very clearly, and they are so distinct. Each one has their own special sound, and before they were blended in a way, yeah, it's a nice harmony and everything, you hear something, but on this album, you hear everything. You hear Stills, you hear Crosby, you hear Nash, and each individual voice stands out perfectly and vividly on any of the pressings, but particularly on the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75. The original pressing was excellent, and I can remember, now I remember why everyone thought it was such a step up, and it was one of the best recorded albums of that period. It's a beautiful sounding pressing. No particular noted mastering engineer, of course. I think it's listed on here actually somewhere, but I won't look it up. It's not like Bernie Grundman or anything like that. But the original pressing is mastered very well. It does have, I wouldn't say brightness, but it is very extended on top. And a lot of people love the original pressing. I certainly did over the years. And it was great to revisit it now. I think all three of these pressings are excellent. The question is, do you need to upgrade to an expensive 45? So we'll try to figure that out here. The vinyl on the original pressing was actually pretty good too. It wasn't in top shape. I did use the sugar cube back and forth with it just to hear it clean and to hear it with a couple of ticks here and there. It was really not any difference at all except a cleaner sound. But I got a good handle on how that original pressing sounded. And then when we switched to Chris Bellman's cut, the 33 from Rhino, I immediately fell in love with the Rhino. I liked it better than the original pressing. It is a little more audiophile approach. That slightly brighter top end is just tamed a little bit, and it's got a softer, warmer, deeper analog sound to it. It's very, very attractive. It has a nice, warm, deep bass and a musical flow that I found very attractive. The original still has that, but this was a little more to my liking. It's a matter of taste. Really, all three of these are great, but this one was really great. I immediately started searching for a copy. I thought, oh, maybe Rhino still has this in print. It was 2017 when that came out. And sometimes they keep certain masterings in print, but I could not find it for sale as new, and used copies are $40 and up to $100. So, you know, that's an option. If you have it, you already have a great record. Do you need the Atlantic 75? Well, I don't have any copy of this record in my collection, so I definitely needed the Atlantic 75, and I'm glad I got it. It's beautiful, by the way. Both of these have the tipped-in photograph and textured sleeve, but Analogue Productions has done this one better. It really looks very special. Very nice texture on the charcoal black matte sleeve. The printing looks perfect. The photo is glued in, tipped in here. It looks wonderful. The inside is glossy, nice wide spine, and it just looks luxurious. Really amazing. The pressings are immaculate. They're flat, they're centered, and they're quiet. They also reproduce the label, the custom label, beautifully. Look at that. Really nice. I don't find the side breaks bothersome. Actually, I kind of like it. Even though I do like the 33, and I would like to have a 33 of this album for when I want to listen to it uninterrupted. But, oh, by the way, these are the new Vinyl Storage Solutions sleeves that I tried. They seem to be made of a better material, and they have like a little logo there. It's not a sticker, it's printed. They also layer this so you can easily open it. The only thing is the tolerances are so exact that they're a little tighter than the older ones. So getting a record out of the sleeve is easy, but putting it back in, it's a little tight. You can't really get your fingers in on the bottom. So I like to glide the record in without it touching anything. I'm going to write to the company and see if there was an issue with making these a little too tight or not. But when you get this, when you take it out, the QRP sleeves are crushed because they are a little larger and this jacket's a little smaller. So the people who are assembling these had to kind of shove them in, and it's really difficult to get the original sleeves in a flat manner. These are much easier. They're smaller and they just glide in, and they're not bunching up at all. You have to kind of move it up and down a couple times, but I'm not going to be keeping them in the jacket. This is going in a VSS sleeve as soon as this video is over. I'm going to make a gatefold as I've shown you in the past, and the records will be outside of the jacket. Let's talk about the music, and then I'm going to tell you why I feel that the Atlantic 75 series release is the one to have. When I look at the titles on this album, I only see one that I don't care for, and it's not really a clunker, it's just one that I don't care for. Everything else is really strong. I would say stronger than some of the material on the first albums. You have Shadow Captain by David Crosby, really beautiful. Beautiful way to open up the album. You can tell it's a more sophisticated outing with studio musicians and extra instrumentation. This recorded sound is so beautiful. It feels like real music making. It's hard to describe what I'm trying to tell you, but it feels like it flows in a way like real music does when you hear it live. It's just wonderful, really, really beautiful. The lyrics are so nice. And it's about guiding a ship and, using that as a metaphor for other things. Really nice. There's some beautiful slide guitar in it from Stephen Stills. Electric piano, which is a nice addition. Wonderful percussion in the background. There's a very quiet part where he's saying Shadow Captain on a charcoal ship. You can hear these light taps on the congas, and it's just a big sense of space and beauty. So beautiful, really great. There's flute in it as well, and organ. So you can see that the instrumentation is much more varied than it was on the first two albums. See the Changes was a highlight for me too. Stephen Stills wrote See the Changes, and it's just beautiful, really good. Lovely. I got goosebumps when I was listening to See the Changes. It's just guitar and vocal. And boy, the guitar is recorded extremely well. You'll love that. That's followed with Carried Away by Graham Nash. I feel like Graham Nash's compositions on this album exceed those of his earlier ones, as good as those are. These are a little more sophisticated, and I really feel like he really struck gold on this. Carried Away is just beautiful. Just beautiful. Lots of goosebump moments, especially the closing lyric where he says, "The star in your ear twinkled and shone, soon you'll be gone." Yeah, you'll get a little emotional when you hear that. There is harmonica in that, acoustic piano, electric piano, and the piano sound wonderful in that. It's really great, as well as the vocals and harmonies. Fair Game picks up the pace a little bit. I wasn't as familiar with this. I don't know why. I might have always taken the record off after Carried Away because I was so blown away. But now Fair Game really stands out as a great cut. It has a wonderful groove. I'm not really sure what the beat is, but it feels like an exotic kind of dance rhythm. And excellent percussion and guitar work. There's a full sound to this. There are acoustic lead guitar, timbales, drum, organ, congas, and bass. The bass anchors these songs really well. It's easy to follow, and it feels integrated so well. Chris Bellman did such a good job on this. It really stands out over the previous effort on 33, especially some of these late in the side cuts. They really expand a bit on this pressing. I'm not going to go through every track here. Anything at All was wonderful. David Crosby composition. Cathedral is majestic, of course. That's Graham Nash. Some beautiful, beautiful moments in that. Dark Star is very accessible, wonderful. Stephen Stills cut. Just a Song Before I Go is a famous one, of course. Really, it's very easy to hear all their voices in that. Just lovely, beautiful song. That's Graham Nash as well. Run from Tears. I don't remember that one as well. It's a little rocky. I think it reminds me of the earlier work, like on Deja Vu, in some ways. Cold Rain is the next cut. Another standout, I think, on the second side is In My Dreams. That is wide open, very spacious, beautiful sound, beautiful vocal. That's a David Crosby cut. And yeah, it has vibes, drums, guitars, and vocals, and it's just great. When that ends, you're so spellbound that the next track is a little jarring, and it's not my favorite track on the album. It's I Give You Give Blind. Heard in isolation is fine, but I don't think the sequencing really does it any favors. It makes you want to take it off because the previous track just left you in a state of bliss, and then you're hit with this kind of rock number, and that's my only criticism of the sequencing and track listings. But overall, this is a must-have. It is so good. It's so good. I really don't need to search out the earlier Bellman, as good as it is. If you have that, this is an upgrade for sure. It is not one of those masterings that's in your face. It has plenty of dynamic range, which means soft to loud. It's not all pushed forward. It's not bright. It's not edgy. It's musical. It's beautiful. You have to have this pressing. I'm telling you, this is one of the best in the Atlantic 75 series. I just love it. I think it's great. And I wanted to thank Chad and company for choosing this title. It really deserved the royal treatment, and it's got it here. So those are my thoughts on the Atlantic 75 Analogue Productions version of CSN. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.